Good evening, horror movie fans. How are you guys doing tonight? Welcome to another episode of Tay and J's Horror Slaves, where we dive into the depths of horror films by giving our honest opinions. Let's just say this movie takes We Are Family to a whole new level. Get your popcorn ready. Please don't read any inscriptions or listen to anything demonic, and let's go.
Let's go. This week's episode that we are doing is for Evil Dead Rise. It was released on April 21st, 2023, directed by Lee Cronin, 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, starring Alyssa Sutherland, Lily Sullivan, Mia Chalice, Nell Fisher, Morgan Davies, and Gabrielle E. E- However, Eccles. Sorry, I'm bad with names. It never fails. I thought it was really interesting. It wasn't bad. It was decent. I think that I have just come to a place where when you it's not even I don't even think it's a remake, but it's just like a continuation of the story. It's just like, eh, like we've seen it and we've done it before. I don't know. It was decent for what it was, but I personally liked the I don't even remember what year that was, 2016,
I,
maybe
I think it was 2013.
13, the 2013 version. And that's saying a lot because even that one I wouldn't even put it in the same category as the original Evil Dead, So it's like it just I don't know. It felt like there was just it just could have been better. Better writing, so much. What do you think?
Honestly, I feel like the aspect of family and the aspect of what they were trying to put out there, with spoiler alerts, by the way, but with the sister being pregnant and being this kind of like misfit kid, and the other sister having kids and kind of needing her sister, but she's always been all over the place. I just feel like it was a good dynamic in that way. I feel like what they were trying to do story wise made more sense in this one than they did with the whole 2013 with Mia being a drug addict and recovering and all that craziness. I mean, it made more sense, but it almost was a lazy plot point. I feel like this one made so much more sense. And then now as far as like it being terrifying, no, it's still just Evil Dead to me. But that may be something that I'm thinking about it that I can appreciate, because it's kind of like Evil Dead has always been just that gore fest, that scary ass what the hell. Like we've mentioned Salem before. It's still on Hulu, by the way, for anybody who wants to check it out. But it's almost like Salem on steroids to me. All the Evil Deads. It's very gory, very witchcrafty, and it's just kind of like in your face. But do I agree? Sorry, excuse me. Do I agree the 2013 version is better than this one for sure? Plot wise, I feel like it made more sense, but this is the thing too. Like, let me just say this. I look for certain things in horror movies. We both do, matter of fact. But I think with Evil Dead, you have to take it as what Evil Dead has always been. That was super gory, like kind of like a decent plot line, and it's just kind of like, okay, there you are. So when you look at it like that, it was awesome. But if you look at it like the type of horror movies that we like, it was okay. So I can appreciate it for what it was, and I like the different modern take, especially being in the apartment complex, the kids, the mom, you know. There was something I was watching. I think it was on Foundflix. I don't remember because I've been watching so many, or listening, should I say, to so many podcasts lately. And the one guy, and I had it ready to say, so forgive me, you guys, but you'll know if you ever listen to it. But he was saying that the mom was talking about being with the kids and swallowing them whole forever, or something of that nature. I'm paraphrasing, but she did kind of basically do that when, she transformed and put all the kids into her body type thing. It was so crazy, but you know, it was definitely really good in that aspect too. Like kind of just you seeing a different type of twist on the horror. And then it was Mia that got away this time, and it was the daughter and the aunt who got away the second time. So I'll give them that. Uh but yeah, I did have a random nightmare about that last night. I did. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was so random. But yeah, like so that's kind of how I feel about it. Now, I want your opinion on basically writing, like character writing. How did you feel about that specifically? Because those things matter as well.
All right. Well, I think I feel like they did a better job. Like, I agree with you when you say, like, I feel like they did a better job with character writing in this one than in the 2013 version, where it just kind of felt like they just threw a bunch of people together. Like, you can't even tell why these people like each other. Like, why are y'all even friends? Like,
For sure.
y'all don't even seem like y'all hang in the same
They
circles.
Yeah, and the whole girlfriend thing. She was like the nurse, and she's like, no, she's like doctor. She's like the nurse, and then they were talking. No, I think it was the reverse. The nurse, and she was like, "There's a doctor," and they were talking about, "Oh, I'm sorry, to be a nurse." So I didn't even know what the hell was going on at that point. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm just like, and that was the thing. Like they made they made you think that they're supposed to be friends, but then you don't know what your friend does. Like you don't know what their job is. Like like it just was a lot of like it was just everywhere when it comes to character development. And this one, it felt more realistic and more genuine. Like it felt like she really could be their aunt, the fun aunt. She shows up here and there, freaking spoils the heck out the kids, and then vanishes for months, years at a time.
Right.
It felt believable, and it felt believable that the mother would be struggling, especially because she just got out of a relationship with her husband. He's wherever the heck, and she's raising the kids by herself.
Yeah, I think they were about to lose the apartment too. They were
They
moving
were,
out.
yeah, like she was struggling with bills and everything. Like all of that felt like real life situations. All of these things could really be happening in someone's life, instead of, like, not to say that someone dealing with drug addiction isn't a thing, but it's just like how they went about it didn't make sense. Like, okay, you take her into the middle of the woods.
And basically, I don't know if anybody knows about addictions and how to deal with those things, but you take somebody, you put them in the woods, and then you say, okay, basically, or she's because she didn't go into detail, obviously, probably just for saving time of the movie, but she's giving her medications that they would give her in a hospital. Again, I'm not knocking any nurse. I love nurses that are cool. Because some of them, a lot of you guys are very annoying, but I feel like, anybody that studies medicine, just this is the thing. You're giving her medication that you think works for her, but at the same time, somebody needs to constantly monitor her, you know. So basically, I feel like she was giving her the what UPMC has is the ambulatory care, the detox. So you still have to monitor that. And then it was kind of like even after a while, it was like she still was thinking like, oh, she's having an episode. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you've seen some batshit crazy things dealing with people that are detoxing, but that was on another level.
I completely agree. I felt like they were, even if the finding the book thing and all of that stuff, like I just feel like they were severely unprepared to be out there the way that they were.
Facts.
Like take away the fact that the book happened and she
Thank
gets
you. I was getting ready to
possessed.
say that.
Yeah, it's just like they were severely unprepared for any, like, for example, there was a point in time that she steals the keys. you're out there with an addict. Why would you leave the keys out on the table? Just for anybody to walk past and grab like that. It just didn't make sense in certain instances, a lot of the instances, and it's just like then you throw in getting possessed. Like it's just like everything that could have went wrong for them, and it just was just like, yeah, it just was not well written for the characters. You pretty much hated everybody. I
Yeah.
don't think there was a single character that I liked in that movie.
Well, can I say this real quickly too? Two things. One, I think it was a good plot device because when you are an addict or you are recovering from being an addict, and I would know I've been clean for what's it, almost 7 years. So
Yeah.
I feel like they did that because she would be in a very weakened state. Excuse me. And I agree with that. Okay, that's fine. But you have to, it's just like we talked about before. When we're writing books, we have great ideas, great plot devices. There's things that you're like, oh, that's awesome. Let's just put that in there. But you have to center your whole story around that. You can't just stop there and be like, oh, that was nice, and just keep going. Like, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, you got to make the things that people do in response to those supernatural things make sense too. Like, they just threw her down into the cellar and then she's banging on it in a very not Mia voice. And then she's like, call out to her, like, I think I'm okay now. And she's like, oh, let me just go down there. Like, girl, really? So, yeah, I agree with you. I didn't really care for nobody, honestly. I was
Yeah,
rooting for her to kill him at this point. At some point, I was really just like, oh, kill them all.
exactly. I mean, at certain points when someone is doing the dumbest decisions, like why like at what point do you need to just stop cheering for, like, you don't ask for people's death, but it's like if you die it's whatever because you keep doing the dumbest decision to lead to your death. So it's just like if you die, okay, it is what it is what it is. I mean, you don't walk, like, you don't freaking walk through a fire and then be shocked that you got burned. I mean,
Exactly. That's
that's
a
what
hundred
happens.
percent. Like, I agree 100% with you on that one.
Yeah, like you do dumb stuff, dumb things happen to you. So like, so the character development in that one was just horrible. So the character development in this one, like it didn't have to do a whole lot more to be better.
No.
you know and I just felt like when it comes to that part, they did do a really good job with each character, um having a little bit of a backstory on each one of them, so kind of who they are, what they're about, how they act, the dynamics between each characters and how they treat each other. Like, I feel like they did a good job with that. um One thing, this is just how I feel. One of the things that bothered me was the record player thing. it, the record player reading the book for them is just like, that's never really been a thing. Like, I don't know if that's how it works, because anything I've seen Evil Dead, someone had to read the book themselves.
Well, this is the thing. Okay. So I understand what you're saying. The thing about it is, and y'all mind the business I pay y'all. I love the Lord, but I have studied Satanism. And sometimes, yes, all it takes is a person basically holding a seance in your house in some type of way. So if they're holding a seance and you're hearing the seance, you're basically in the circle. You know, they say don't break the circle and stuff like that. You're basically in the circle at that point. Um, because like I said, like remember in the Evil Dead from 2013, all he had to do was read it out loud. So I'm not saying she's reading it out loud, but she's hearing it. You know what? No, because I think I'm proving your point at this point. Even though, like I said, I'd have studied Satanism, and a lot of times, eh, I think it would have been a little bit better because I'm right here with you at this point. It probably would have been a little bit better had they had her repeat it as he was saying it. Like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you do get you do bring shit into your house. Like, remember when I told you I was looking way back when I had Comcast big years ago, and that was way before we was even married. And I was looking at the preview to Lords of Salem, and I was like, "Yo, this looks good." And then when they said, "You know what? I'm not gonna tell y'all what he said," but when they said that, I was like, "Ah," and I cut it off because there's certain things you have to be careful about bringing in your house. Now, had it been like little small stuff that led up to big stuff, it probably would have worked. So I was gonna try to justify it, but I do agree, and I'm gonna take it back. You're 100% right. There is a part of you that should have been able to vocalize those words for the entire family to become possessed.
Right. Exactly. That yeah, like that was the only thing that really got me when it came to the movie uh per se, because I was just like, okay. I mean, you know, it's just like you said, like saying it out loud, like even with the like you said, like the video, they're saying it. I mean, I guess through the video is the same thing as a recording, I guess, but I don't know. It's just I just feel like he should have been reading from the book, or like he wasn't even near the book, you
Yeah.
know, and it just like flipped open and started fluttering, and it's just like, what the heck, like.
Maybe I know because I don't want to keep cutting you off. I really apologize because I'm my brain is just going a mile a minute. So maybe because I don't remember what it's called, but there's a certain thing where basically if you hear certain things, it's meant to be said in an enchanting way, especially in Satanism. It's meant to be said that even if you hear it, the person is basically enchanting you and your household at the same time. So maybe that's what it was meant to do. And again, sometimes I feel like in movies, they either don't have the budget for it or they're expecting us to know that.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. The reason I say that is because now that I think about it, like Ouija, for example, I think it's Origin of Evil, where the daughter, the youngest one, had nothing to do with the playing with the Ouija board. She was actually like downstairs, and they're like, playing with it, and she just starts replying to
Well,
whatever spirit
that
they.
wasn't the same though, remember? Because her mom actually physically was playing with it and speaking out loud. But at the same time, we talked about this before, even in the movie Constantine, children are more susceptible to spirits because they have an imagination. Adults kind of get older and they don't, unless you're practicing that and keep that up with yourself, you don't have the same imagination and openness that kids do. That's why they're more easily, susceptible to possession. Even in I didn't want to go there, but it made me think about that. So sorry, y'all. But even in Sinister, they talks about that.
I agree, because actually, now that I think about it, like even when you go back to things that we've talked about, where you know, as a kid, us seeing things that
Spirits, demons.
spirits, demons, seeing things, and it's just like, you know, I seen those things as a child. I haven't really seen them as an adult.
That's because you didn't
That doesn't
focus on
mean,
them.
right? You're right. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe. And that's the thing. Like, it's weird because it's like, it's not like I don't believe, but it's just like, I don't see it no more. And I thank the Lord that I don't, like.
You have to really focus on it and kind of like one of the things I love and agreed about in Constantine, because Dad used to always tell me like you have to pay attention to movies. And the one thing I loved about Constantine is so underrated to me is that when he told her, if you do this, basically opening her mind back up to what she used to know. And he was like, you'll see them and they'll see you. Like that's just I feel like it's such a deep part because a lot of things that we go through are spiritual battles. So you don't know who's paying you any attention. Like, you know what I mean? And until I feel like we can all have opinions and debate about whatever the hell. Nobody's gonna know 100% about anything until we all die. Like, so yeah. So that's where basically it is that yes, like you said, you just kind of you don't focus on it when you get old or you're getting older. You just kind of like, oh, that was a thing, and then you move on. And then you get older and you're like, why is these kids like, da da da. And like some people focus on it more, and that's why they still have those premonitions and visions and all those things when they get older. And it's just like actually really crazy to think about.
For sure. And I'm gonna go off track for a second because you brought up Constantine. So
Do you?
I want to talk about this real quick. Shout shout out to our boy Keanu Reeves. One, because I seen a clip from a video where they asked him one character that he regrets that he has never gotten to play again. And he said John Constantine. He said that he would love to play John Constantine one more time. So he said the only reason he hasn't is because no one has come out with a script about it. So please, directors, somebody make a Constantine 2 and get your boy Keanu Reeves
Please, we're
back in
begging
that
y'all.
spot. Swear. I just had to bring that up real quick because when I
Oh, I
seen that, I
love
was
it.
like, let's go. I was like, yes, get somebody to write that script. I need that.
Me too.
But so now I could get back on track. I just had to say that real quick. But yeah, I agree with all of that. So with that being said, like you said, like I feel like they definitely should have, at the very least, like you said, had her as the audio was playing, the record player. She should have been mouthing the words or something along those lines, just so you like could get a feel of the possession happening. Like it was just like,
Mhm.
okay, you're hearing it, the book is fluttering, and then boom, she's possessed. It's like, I mean, okay. I mean, if you say so, we'll go along with it because we ain't got no choice. Um, but once she got possessed, that's when it started going crazy. It started going downhill fast. So I can admit that's why I said I like it was good. There was there's parts that I don't really care for, or parts that I think that they should have changed, or then there's that part of me that was comparing it to the old one that I'm used to and comparing it to the 2013 version. So there was just parts where I'm just like, but I could say that once it got going, it was nonstop craziness.
For sure.
Like,
I think it was a good crazy dude. Like I think it was. That's one thing I give them too. Like it was better than 2013's Evil Dead. No offense to y'all. I love y'all. I still got y'all on DVD. Yes, we watch DVDs. Fight me. But I feel like it was better because it was just kind of like the craziness was happening, especially like when she thought her sister was dead and she kind of popped her ass. Like that. Those are the aspects that made me be like, oh, I ain't like that. But also it kind of triggered something in me. And I ain't gonna talk about it, y'all, but it triggered something in me. So I could dream ahead about somebody that passed away. So it triggered that in me, but it also made me be like, oh shit, hold on, wait a minute. So those were good like aspects. I ain't gonna lie, the doctor. The daughter eating the glass pissed me off so much. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I think it's just because I saw her cutting her face with glass and the one before that. And it was just kind of like, okay, do something else.
I agree. I did feel the exact same feeling that I felt when with, like you said, Shorty cutting her face with the glass from the
Yeah.
mirror. It's just like, all right, we've been there, done that. Do something new.
Bought that t-shirt.
Right. Like it's not like, and that's where my problem comes into play when it comes to horror movies now, because it's like I mean, I get that you're going to like be similar to some movies because you can only do but so much to the human body, but it's just like do something different as far as another movie. Like, don't do something that the same movie with the same title as you did. Like, that would be the same. Like, as far as I was concerned, like I didn't really I don't remember watching Mirrors 2. But when Shorty in Mirrors 1 ripped her face open, that
Mhm.
would be like in Mirrors 2, they had a character do the exact same thing. It's just like,
Well, not
okay.
not even that. Like if she ripped her face up and then she tore her face, maybe she tore her face off and ate it. That would be the equivalent. Because she cut her face with glass and then Shorty ate her face. I mean, ate glass. So she instead of she just took her face off, she took it off and just ate it. It'd be like, okay, I've kind of seen something like that already. I'm not really honestly at that part. I was just kind of like I was expecting a jump scare. I'm like, here we go. But I have to figure out who the heck I was listening to. I should have did that before we did this, but that one person was talking about like of why it makes sense of the Evil Dead Rise part. I mean, I do like the beginning, how the beginning ended with the end. I do appreciate that too.
Yes. I definitely want to I agree. And I want to bring up I really appreciated the setting throughout the whole movie. Like you
Mhm.
said, like the ending meshing into the beginning meshing into the beginning was awesome, but the whole setting being in that apartment building, and I feel like the apartment building being old, decrepit, and like just not well kept made the movie that much better. Like
For
I
sure.
feel like it went well with what was going on. Like if it was like a brand new building, like a brand new hallways and elevator brand new and pristine carpets in the hallways, like it would have been like, okay, whatever, if you say so. But with it
Mm.
being an old building, you're like, I can see that type of apartment building being haunted.
Well, not even that, but just even like haunted for sure, but definitely being broken down. Like, okay, the elevator, I can't even say it right. So the elevator not working and things going. Yeah, that all that made sense. So I agree with the setting.
Swear. So there's the setting that was really good. The meshing of the beginning and the end went well.
Well,
The
no, what you want to say?
No, I was gonna move into the main. I mean, I guess you would consider her the main character, but the sister who was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna move into her, but if you had something to say, what we was
No,
talking
no, no,
about
go ahead.
before, okay. So I enjoyed her the part that she played in the survival of the youngest girl.
So, so what exactly did you enjoy about her role in, you know, being the basically the I don't want to say foster mom, but better like a better phrase, foster mom over the youngest daughter.
Well, it wasn't just necessarily the youngest daughter. It was just her dynamic within the family itself. Period. But once everything started to go to hell, and the mother was possessed, the daughter was possessed. It became like, okay, by all means, I have to make sure that this little girl survives. And I like that aspect of it because it was like because the way they started it made it seem like she didn't really give a shit about anybody but herself. So to
Facts.
see that change, see that motherly instinct that was going to have to come with her being pregnant, it was nice to see that protruding through her personality throughout all of the craziness that was happening. And honestly, you typically do like when you know the roughest times in your life and you know really bad situations that you can't control, that is when you really see what kind of person you are, whether you have what it takes to survive it or um the latter. And she did her thing to make sure that not only herself but the little girl was going to make it out of that situation.
I 100% agree, and she also tried to help all the other kids. You know what I mean? She was doing her best, and, like, even when she was studying the recording, she really tried to be, like, the mother figure of those children. And, I mean, the youngest daughter, it works, but I feel like it doesn't in the same way of, like, we just talked about earlier. That whole dynamic of, okay, you're a kid, you're more susceptible to this bull crap. I feel like it would have been better for me had she been that mother figure towards maybe the brother or the sister or something like that. Maybe even the mom for all I care. If the kids kind of got possessed first and then it was just kind of like dot 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 and it just moved on from that. So I really feel like that dynamic it made sense, but it didn't at the same time. Now, as far as let me just ask you this. As far as the scary factor, what would you give it? Like the scale and also like explaining the scale as far as you're concerned.
Okay. uh on a scary scale, 10 being the absolutely scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and 1 being like I could fall asleep after watching it and have the happiest dreams of my entire life. I would say it was probably a 5. I would give it right down the middle. It wasn't super duper scary, but it wasn't like a walk in a park either. Like it had like some really gore. Like it's hard for me to rank anything with that much gore anything less than a 5.
Mm.
You know, like because when you go into gore things like you start going into things like Saw, and like you like actually seeing a person's body being torn apart or someone's body being cut into. All of those things come across differently than somebody got stabbed, but you don't get to see all of the body movements of uh, a knife going in and like the blood coming out. Like all of that has its own scaredy. That's not a word. That's not a word. I'm making it a word right now, but that's not a word. But it has its own scaredy to uh the scale. Like you can't have something where even though it wasn't a part that we particularly enjoyed because we had already seen it, but the daughter eating glass and seeing the cuts and blood running down her mouth, like those things play a part. And uh whether it's like for me, I've seen a lot of gory um movies over the years, but for someone who doesn't watch it, I could see how that would be like, oh, like you can't, like almost like you can't even continue watching, So, like I said, I can't give it anything less than a 5, but I also don't feel good giving it anything higher than a 5 either. So,
You know what? It's been a minute, but I can agree. No, seriously, because it's just kind of like like I said, people that go into it expecting evil did shit, they're always gonna label a 10. But people like us who have complex movie experiences and we want something that's terrifying, it's not that terrifying. So I agree. I think it would be like a five because you're not getting nothing that's terrifying. I mean, even as us being parents, I don't think as because the mom was possessed first, I think it's not like that terrifying. If the aunt was possessed first, or like maybe the youngest daughter was possessed first, it went. We might have been able to give it maybe a higher scale, and it depends on how they executed it as well. But it's just kind of like it's frightening, but I mean, it doesn't really do anything for us. You know what I mean? Even what you were talking about the daughter when she was biting the plate, I mean, biting the glass, excuse me. It's again, that's scary from a new mother standpoint, and I like the way the person. I have to find that person's name, and I might be able to label it in the comments. But the person was talking about. If you see it, just put it in the comments for us, please, because I know you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But the person was talking about how the aspect of becoming a mom and the nature of being afraid and having to be strong for your children, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just paraphrasing, but that ties into her about to be a new mom. So I get that. I mean, if you can look at it like that, it makes a lot of sense. But it's not nothing that I would say like, yeah, like I would be terrified to watch that at night and be like, oh my gosh, no, it's scary. Like, no, I could still watch it. I honestly could probably still watch it with a pentagram spray painted on the wall and maybe even you know what? I don't want to be like that asshole person, but like maybe the Lords of Salem playing. I can't even get it right. Playing in the background because it's not like terrifying to me. So I can identify with what you're saying because it's kind of like it's not that, and it's crazy because I can even pay homage to. I mean, I would definitely watch The Craft, but probably not with a pentagram spray painted on the wall. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's crazy, but it's like, you know, it's not that bad. I mean, there has some scary moments. It has some jump scare moments too. And I think jump scares too for me, the jump scares have to make sense. I don't want to hear music tropes when jump scares happen. I want to just see it like how they did on Hereditary. And I don't even think Hereditary is that scary. Maybe I will when I rewatch it again for the third time, but I just don't think it's that scary. But I'm saying like her being on the ceiling and you just didn't notice it was like, oh, hold up. Is she wait a minute. Like, you know what I mean? So I needed to be super scary to me to make it make sense. And you know what? Because of the movies that we deem scary, maybe people feel like that about us too. But I feel like that's where movies like The Ritual made sense to me, where it was just like, oh, that's scary as hell. Like because it wasn't just the jump scares, it was the fact of this person. You're experiencing these things in the eyes of a person. And then you realize like, okay, there might be no hope. I didn't see Midsommar yet, but I did see a lot of videos on it. And then there's other movies like The Hitcher, where that to me is very scary because it's a person killing without any reason. And he's just coming after you and coming after you and finding you. And yeah, at some point it gets like, okay, ain't no way. But at the same time, like the parts that we know are realistic are scary as hell. So I get that. I get that. I get Sinister. I get The Ring. I get um I'll say thrillers. What thrillers I can I understand. You're next. Um you should not you should have left. But that, I mean that's a supernatural, but you should have left is yeah. And then there's what's the one it's called
Would you rather?
yeah, Would You Rather. Thank you. Not you read my brain. But
I figured. I kind of figured
yeah,
where you
Would
was
You
going.
Rather to me is very underrated because it's very good and it's about we'll get to it, so I don't want to spoil too much about it, but the decision making of okay, I could die or I can do what I need to do to survive. So it was like Saw, but in a better way. Like after Saw, maybe the first one. Because the second, third, and maybe on that was kind of like okay. But like Would You Rather was kind of like Saw, the first one, where it gave you that, oh, wait a minute, like that sense of tension. And I think that sense of tension is something that was deep that a lot of scary movies miss. So that's how I feel about it. But again, I would give it a 5 too, as far as that's concerned. Did you do your scary scale?
Yeah, I did mine first.
Oh no, no, I was, we have two different scary scales, so forgive me. But with that being said, we're gonna get off here. We're gonna let you guys. I would say see it. So how would you say about that?
I would definitely say see it as a horror movie fan. I would, I always would, I will pretty much always say watch it, even if it's typically even if it's a bad horror movie. I typically would say just check it out because you can get things even from the bad ones. Even if it's dang, they should have done this better. They could have done this better. There's a lot that you can get from bad movies. So like, but I'm typically always going to say to check it out. This is one that I would say check it out, and it's not a bad movie. It's something that you can check out and seriously enjoy. Yeah.
So with that being said, we're gonna get off here. Excuse me, because it's late for us, but we would say stay horror, stay creepy, of course. Um, Definitely don't read any random scrolls. Don't listen to any creepy things on records. If it sounds creepy, if it sounds like witchcraft, just cut it off. If you're into witchcraft, that's different. But so do your thing. Listen. We don't discriminate. Okay, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, say horror, say creepy, and do what you gotta do. But don't bring that to us. We love y'all. Just don't call us if you got hauntings. Please do not. I can't stand us. Horror movie fans unite.
Two fingers.